In this lesson we're going to look at doing a migration of some mailboxes from the Sydney location to our new branch office server in the Brisbane location. I'm logged on here to my Brisbane domain controller, and I'll just show you what I've already done in Active Directory users and computers. So here in my company OU, I have sub-OUs set up for each of the sites, Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, and within each of those I have further sub-OUs for computers, groups and users. So there's all my Sydney users, and also up here in Brisbane what I've done is just taken a sample of users from that Sydney OU where they all were originally located and just moved them over into this Brisbane OU. So now we'll jump over to the Exchange server BNE EX1. I've already got my Exchange Management Console open here in the list of mailboxes in the recipient configuration section. I'm going to create a filter and choose the office attribute. I'm going to say office equals Brisbane. Go ahead and apply that filter. And because those user objects in Active Directory have their office set to Brisbane, we're able to use that filter in Exchange to get a list just of those users. So let's start with Adam Woolley. Now he's a Brisbane user. We've moved the user object in AD into the Brisbane OU. But we'll have a look in his mailbox properties, and his mailbox database is still mailbox database 2, which is one of my mailbox databases in the Sydney location. So we want to move his mailbox to Brisbane. So we'll just log on to one of the virtual machines. It's a Windows 7 workstation within the Brisbane site. We'll log on as Adam Woolley. And basically I'm just going to make sure that his Outlook profile is already configured and have a look at how it's currently set up. And then we'll see what happens during the actual mailbox move. Okay, so Auto Discover has populated some information there for us and has helped us set up that Outlook profile. Okay, we've just got a few prompts there for settings, due to being the first time that Adam Woolley has logged on and run any Office programs. Okay, so there's all his email. That's the email that just gets generated by that automated script, which was mentioned at the end of one of the very early lessons. Let's just take a look at how that account was set up. Okay, so because he's still on mailbox database 2, which is located on the database availability group in the Sydney site, so Outlook-SID is the CAS array for that site, and that's the one that he's currently connected to. So looking at the bottom here, we've got a status of connected to Microsoft Exchange server. I'll jump back to my BNE EX1 server. What we'll do is we'll start a move request for Adam Woolley and move him to this BNE EX1 server. And I'm going to choose to suspend the move when it's ready to complete. That move request has been created successfully, and we should see it now in the list of move requests here in the Exchange Management Console. There he is there, and the status at the moment is automatically suspended. So let's have a look and see how far that got. So it had a very small mailbox, only 320 kilobytes. The move got as far as 95%, and when you do configure your move to suspend when it's ready to complete, it basically takes it all the way to 95%, and then it holds there in that suspended state. So it's moved in from mailbox database 2 to mailbox database 3 and has moved into that, switched into that automatically suspended state. Some other details here, including a move request log. You can read through that in your own time. It's worth taking a look at. Some interesting details there about what happens during the move. Okay, so that move request was occurring in the background, but what actually happened to Adam's mailbox access? Well, nothing happened at all. He's basically still connected to Microsoft Exchange and can send and receive email. As you can see, that went through the outbox, no problems there at all. And basically that's made possible because the mailbox moves in Exchange Server 2010 are online mailbox moves, which basically means that all that data up to that 95% can be moved in the background. And then we have the move request optionally can switch to that suspended state, and then at a time of your choosing, for example overnight or at a time that suits the particular end user that you're using, you can then complete that move request and finish that last 5% and any other changes that have happened between when the move was suspended and when you choose to complete it. So we'll leave Adam connected just so we can see the full impact. Go back to BNE EX1, choose to complete the move request, and I'll just refresh that. I could say it's switched to a status of moving. One more refresh and that's now in a completing state. And after a few minutes we can refresh and we get this status of completed. Let's go back to the PC and have a look at what happened. So even though Adam was able to work quite merrily while the move request was in its suspended state with only 5% to go, when it does come time to complete, the user, if they're still logged on, they get this prompt that the Microsoft Exchange administrator has made a change that requires that you quit and restart Outlook. So I will do that. And we're back to connected status, connected to Microsoft Exchange. And let's just jump back in and see what's happened with those account settings. And we can see now that the CAS array that it's connected to, the RPC client access server that it's connected to, has switched over to Outlook-BNE. So because the mailbox has moved from the Sydney site to the Brisbane site, and there's a different CAS array within that site, we get this change here in the Outlook profile. So it's basically as simple as that. If you'd chosen to complete that move after hours when the user wasn't even logged on, they would never have even seen that prompt. They would start up the Outlook the next morning and everything would continue working as if nothing had happened. So back here on the Exchange server, we've got this list of Brisbane users still open in front of us, and next we want to basically do the migration of all of these users from the Sydney servers over to that Brisbane server. Now because this is a fairly bulk migration with a largish number of users, we just want to make sure that we're not moving too much data at once that might, for example, fill up a transaction log volume with all of the log generation that's going to occur because of the size of the move. So I've gone to my website, exchangeserverpro.com/PowerShell. And this is a page where I publish a series of PowerShell scripts. And one of the scripts is this get mailbox report.ps1 script, which is a PowerShell script to generate mailbox reports. So I'll go to the page where that download is hosted and just download the script file just here. It's a very small file, so that should download quite quickly. Okay, just jump into Explorer. There's that zip file. And I'll just take that PowerShell script and put it in this C admin folder where I can work with it. And because the file has been downloaded from an untrusted location, we also just need to open the properties and unblock it so that it can be executed here on this server. So I'll just go into the Exchange Management Shell. And I'll just demonstrate the use of the get mailbox commandlet. with the organizational unit parameter. So this will allow me to get a list of the mailboxes within a specified OU, which in my case is exchangeserverpro.net/company/Brisbane/users. So there's all my Brisbane users, the same as we would see within the Exchange Management Console. So I'm just going to grab these names and I'm just going to simply paste them into a text file, which I'll call Brisbane users. So I just pop them in there, and I can check that those mailbox names will be able to be found the way they're specified in that text file, just by testing it with get content, the name of the file, and piping that into get mailbox, and we should get back all results, no errors. So there we go. Alright, so I know that I've got a text file that contains properly formatted mailbox names that I can feed in now to the get mailbox report script. So get mailbox report, we're going to give it the file Brisbane users.txt, and the script will go away and do the work. It will collect the list of mailboxes specified in that file, grab some information about them such as the mailbox size, and then it will give us a nicely formatted CSV file at the end of it containing all of that data that we're interested in. There we go, the script's done its job and spits out this mailbox report.csv file and just some extra characters there, which are the time and date that it was generated. Now I'll need to open that in Excel to be able to look at it a little bit easier, so I'll just bring it across to my workstation here, pop it in the documents folder, and open it up. Okay, so in this test lab, these mailboxes are nice and small. They're not even 1 megabyte in size, so that's fine with me. They're all coming up just rounded to 0. They only have a few hundred items in them, between 100 and 200 items in them at most, and because they're just simple little dummy emails, they don't add up to much at all. So I know I'm going to be fine in this case. In a production environment, you might see a little bit more data in this item size folder, and you can make some assessments about the size of the mailboxes that you're moving and perhaps break them down into batches so that you're not generating too much transaction logging at once. Okay, so we know that we want to move all these, and it's going to be safe to move them all at once because there's not much data there. So I'll just go ahead and select them all, create a new local move request. Pop them on Mailbox Database 3, which is on the Brisbane Exchange server. In a production environment, you might be choosing to suspend the move when it's ready to complete so that you can pre-copy all that data across and then just complete the moves out of hours. But just for the sake of speed here, I want those mailbox moves to go all the way to completion in my test lab where it doesn't impact any real people. So I'll leave that unchecked. All of those move requests have been issued, so I can finish the wizard. And again, if you want to keep an eye on how those are going, pop over here to this move request section in the Exchange Management Console and just watch them roll through as they go all the way to a completed state. And after some time has passed, we can see that all of those move requests have reached a completed state. So just to finish off the task, we can tidy up after ourselves by selecting all of those move requests and then just clearing them If you don't clear them, if you leave them there, it doesn't harm your environment at all, but you won't be able to issue another move request for any of these mailboxes until the existing completed move request has been cleared.